And do you feel like we've kind of become more godless over time?
No, I just think we started worshiping false gods. I don't think you can be godless the same way you can't be aimless. Like, look, if you're aimless, you know the old saying, the devil finds work for idle hands.
Oh, yeah.
If you're aimless, something will come for you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You'll be at a whim of whatever. Yeah.
That's
if you
it.
don't have, yeah.
Okay,
if you're not blowing into your sales, then something else will.
That's for sure. So that's the crucial issue is that, you know, people say, well, you don't have to orient yourself towards anything transcendent. Nothing transcendent exists. It's like, yeah, okay. Dispense with that. See what comes along to fill it. And people will say, well, the self does. It's now the self. It's like, no, it's not. It's the lowest possible whims of the self, right? You think, well, I should be able to do what I want whenever I want. It's like, what I are you referring to exactly here? So you mean if you get angry, you should let that possess you and you should stomp around, eh? That's the war god, Mars. So that's your god now, or Venus, right? Lust, for example.
Yeah, or then you'd be looking at pornography. Yeah, I think maybe we've got some really bad gods right now.
Yes, that's definitely the case. The biblical corpus is a very strange collection of stories because it tells a bunch of different pictures about God. And then it says, or it shows a bunch of different pictures of God. And then it says, those are unified. There's something at the top. This is so cool. I'm writing a new book called We Who Wrestle with God, and it's an explanation of this. Oh
gosh, tag me into the ring, dude.
Hey man, it's coming along. It'll be out in March. So here's how the story works. It's so cool. It's so ridiculously cool. So it's a set of narrative propositions about the highest unifying spirit.
Okay.
Okay. So in the story of Noah, so this is a definition of God. This is the thing to understand. If you're a wise person and you're a good person, so that's Noah, there will be times when you have an intuition that tells you that you better prepare because bad times are coming. Okay. If you've been clear-headed and far-seeing, if you've conducted yourself properly, that's a spirit you should attend to. It might be that survival itself depends on it. That intuition, that's God. This is definition. That's what God is. Okay. So
that's what Noah said.
That's what the story of Noah means.
Yes.
Okay. But that doesn't,
because he got the intuition that the flood was coming.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And the story insists that he was a wise man. So he's no fool who's running around thinking the sky is falling. Yeah. He's like a wise man looking forward and saying, look, trouble's coming. Yeah. Prepare.
He's locked in. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Next story is the story of the Tower of Babel. Okay. So what happens in the Tower of Babel is that men decide to build these, they're called ziggurats. And a ziggurat is a building stretching to heaven. Okay. It's a 7-tiered representation of heaven. And the emperors in the area of that time, including the Babylonian Empire, would build these extremely high ziggurats, buildings, to show that they were the top god. But they weren't God. And so they're false idols. They're false pyramids. They're attempts to stretch up to heaven based on the wrong principle. And God in that story...
You can't use construction to get there.
Well, Stalin wasn't God. Right. And neither was Mao. And they built very large pyramids that were very unstable and they collapsed and killed everyone. Right. And so God in that story is the spirit that punishes those who build false pyramids. Right. That there's something that should be at the top. And if you don't put the proper thing at the top, you'll build a false ideology, a false structure, and everything will come tumbling down. What's so cool in that story, this is so cool. When people strive improperly toward heaven, and they do that according to the wrong principles, they end up unable to communicate with each other. And that's what's happening in our culture. You see, we can't even agree on what a woman is. And I'm not making a joke about this.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
Yeah. So that means because we've been erecting false pyramids, we've fractured so badly we can't agree on what the basic elements of reality are. Yeah.
And does that usually correct itself, or what happens? Like, because we've never been in this time where we have this like reflective, like...
Two things always happen.
Okay.
Either God decides that he's had enough and everything goes, or everybody covers themselves in sackcloth and ashes and repents and reorients themselves, in which case things regenerate and they move on. That's the standard story.
What do you think is going to happen?
Depends on how. See, what happens in the Exodus story, it's a real good example of this, is that the Pharaoh has put himself on a false pedestal. And the consequence of that is that worse and worse things start to happen to Egypt. That's the sequence of plagues. And each plague gets a little worse. Well, that's what happens, is that things will just get worse in waves of crisis until we admit to our error and reorient ourselves appropriately. And that can be, so what happens in the Exodus plagues is that, first of all, the whole world comes undone, and then the future is destroyed. That's the last plague. Wow. That's the death of the firstborn. Yeah.